You gotta have knowledge for life. 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 You gotta have knowledge for life.
Once again, knowledge is power. This is Knowledge Cypher Conference Series, where we ask professionals to come and speak to us on issues impacting the black community. Because as W.E.B. Du Bois was talking about, we have a talented tenth, the head, if you will, and then we have the masses of the people, the body, but the two are not connected. They're disconnected. And so as a result of that, we are powerless to really move effectively in our community. Now, I want to bring before us a beautiful brother. Please give a warm round of applause to our beautiful brother, Brother Manuel, as we bring him to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess we were going to get started a little bit early, but that's fine with me. First off, my name is Manuel, and I've been here in Dayton since 1996. I was born in Springfield, Ohio, with 8 brothers and 7 sisters. Now, when you first think about that, you start off thinking that's a pretty large family. So I came up the hard way, but I think I came up the right way. My topic for today is community development for the future. And the question is, what can we do? So, like I mentioned, I've been here in Dayton since 1996. And when I think about that time, I can't believe that I've been operating doing the same thing in Dayton for the last 24 years, since 1996. But the thing of it is that the vision that I was blessed with when I was over in South Africa is something that's moved me in a direction of understanding why I was created the way I'm created, and it's actually understanding your purpose. So part of what I'm going to share with everybody today is part of the pathway that I went to discovering my purpose. I have some handouts, and Cece, can you pass out some of the handouts? Because I believe in writing things down, and it actually helps to be able to see something on paper. Because the scripture says you're supposed to write a vision and make it plain. So if you got something that's in your mind that you can't touch, the first thing that you have to do in bringing that to reality is put it on paper. So I've got a diagram that starts off sharing a little bit about what I learned from purpose. I mentioned I went to South Africa a year after y'all races. And if you want to think about a book, I read the book by Miles Monroe called In Pursuit of Purpose. And that book explained to me the processes that I went through in my life and the reason and rationale that I went through those things and how I was supposed to do things for other people in the future. So reading a book by Miles Monroe, In Pursuit of Purpose, helped me get a better understanding of myself. And I came from California. I left on a missions trip, and the pastor preached from the book of Habakkuk 2 and 2, writing a vision and making it plain. So when I got over to South Africa, I was on a high the whole time I was there. And as I gazed across the horizon of Soweto, when I prayed, all this stuff started coming to me. And anytime you have a lot of information that's coming to you, there's no way that you can remember it. You have to put it down on paper. So that's what I did. I put it down on paper. We were supposed to be on safari, but I decided to stay in the hotel room and work on putting my vision down on paper. So those of you that have the handouts, you see that at the top, it's like 4 circles. The first circle says, that which you love. The second circle, that which the world needs. The next one it says that you can be paid for. And the last one, it says that's what you are good at. And you can see the circles interlock where your passion, mission, profession, and vocation come into play. Right in the center is your purpose. So the whole point is to understand that God has allowed us to go through a certain path of life for a reason. And we're supposed to use that path in order to help other people or do things for His will.
Right.
And as long as we have that understanding, we're in the right place. So if we think about understanding purpose and coming back to that question, what can we do? Everybody out here has a purpose. We're all created differently. We all have different gifts, talents, and abilities, but there's something that we're supposed to do that makes us different from everybody else. We have an understanding that there's a lot of different things that we can do, and there's not necessarily any reason for jealousies.
That's
because
right.
We're all completed separate,
Right.
completed different. I know Brother Steve and I go back a long ways. We've got different talents and different skill sets, but when we put those talents and skill sets together, we can make a lot of things work.
That's right.
And this so is with everybody else out here. A lot of the people that I know and those that I've worked with in the past, everybody has different skills and talents. And just think about it from having a clear picture and then having all these little pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Everybody working together, making a complete picture. So that's one of the understandings that we should have. And that diagram is just one way of being able to help people take what's on their mind and put it down on paper and bring it to reality. So the Africa trip was one that changed my life. I came out of corporate America. I was an engineer at Honda, designing cars. They sent me to Japan. I was over there for 3 months. And in that time, I designed a process to redevelop cars that reduced their cycle from 18 weeks down to 8 weeks. So they sent me over there. I was there for three months. I was the first African-American engineer that they'd sent over. But what I found out is about when I came back to the United States, I trained 10 guys. 3 of them they tried to make my boss. So it wasn't necessarily for me to be in corporate America helping people that were eventually going to become my boss. I had to take those skills and talents that I learned in corporate America and find ways to help people in the community.
Wow.
So that's what I've been doing ever since I've been here in Dayton.
That's
A long
beautiful.
time when I think about it, but it has been rewarding.
Yes, sir.
So think about that word community. And in the classes that I teach, we always break down words. So when you get an understanding of community, the last part says unity. So community should have common unity, if you think about what the word is all about. So one of the tools that I was using to put down on paper was actually understanding how to teach people how to build houses from the ground up. The first program I wrote was called Building Economic Empowerment. We teach people how to write their vision and put it down on paper, but we teach them how to build a house, and we teach them principles. The principles that we teach are universal laws. They're laws of God. So wherever I go, if I go like this, it's still because that's the law of gravity.
Right.
So if we understand that there's a program written based on universal laws that control all other aspects of life, then we can't actually have changes that will happen that will be a problem for us. So think about this. Does anybody out here have any construction experience? Anybody? Construction experience? I see 1 or 2 hands. Okay. Is anyone out here have bones in their body?
Yes.
I see all the hands going up. Okay, think about the purpose of the framing system in a house. And think about the bones in your body. The principle's the same. The framework and the bones in the body has the same principle. And that it operates just as the structure. Now when you think about the electrical system, can anybody think of something that works in your human body that's similar to the electrical system?
The nerves.
Nervous system, okay? What about the plumbing? Plumbing in the house. Is there something in your body that's similar? Can anybody think of anything that's like plumbing in your body? I can't hear.
Digestive system.
Hear veins?
Veins, arteries.
Oh, kidneys? Okay. All right. But think about the veins in your body, how that transports the same way that a house actually has water that transports through the house.
Right.
So I gave you an example. Framing system to the bones. Electrical system to the nerves. And the plumbing to the circulatory system. So by understanding the human body is only used as a model for a house, we can get an understanding that the greatest structure that's ever been built is the human body. You look at it every day in the mirror. It wasn't created by man, but it was created by God. So understanding that, it takes a lot of the confusion out of thinking about where we come from and what things we can do. So I've written a program that's called Building Economic Empowerment. We teach that to adults. We have programs that we use for youth. We have 2 junior engineer programs, 11 to 14-year-olds, and then 14 through 18s. And we're starting with teaching at a young age. We teach kids how to design houses. We also teach them how to build with Legos. So one of the projects that I've done over the years, I've built a house from the ground up. It's a styrofoam house and it's fireproof and bulletproof. Same principles that you stack up blocks using Legos. But this house is the home of the future.
That's right.
So when we talk about community development for the future, I'm thinking about ICS. So we have to understand that we need that. We need to see how we can use ICS for the future. So we define words, we study in a 3-part process. We research the truth, we seek to understand the nature and origin, and then we apply it. So that 3-part process helps us to understand that whatever word that we take, we can break it down and get a full understanding of it. So let's take the word construction. So construction. The suffix, the shun, is always the action of something. So if we look up in the dictionary, what is a structure? An arrangement of parts in the substance or body. So the example I just gave you, that's no coincidence. You can look it up in the dictionary and you can find out what it really means. So one other word that we define that makes a lot of sense is we talk about education and where we have big problems in education. So education. Shun, again, the action of educating something. So we look up the word educate. So in the dictionary to say to train or develop knowledge, skill, mind, and character, especially through formal education or study. That's what education is supposed to do. So that was the first phase of actually getting a dictionary and finding out what the word means. Now the second part, where we seek to understand the nature and origin, we look up educate and we bring it back to the etymology. The etymology is where the word came from, it's the root word. So the etymology for educate is educe. And educe means to draw out something that's potential, that's latent. So in other words, what an educator is supposed to do is to draw out power that's already inside of a person that's hidden or sleeping. That's the whole intention of education. And you have to apply the information. So 3-part process, research the truth, seek to understand the nature and origin, and then application. So the same process came to me when I was in Africa. And that's what I've been doing ever since I left Honda, since '96. So when we think about getting a vision and understanding purpose, God already has a purpose for us. He already knows our thoughts. He knows what places that we're supposed to go. If you want a biblical reference, look at Jeremiah 29:11. And it talks about, I know the thoughts that I think towards you. So we're designed from a specific point of having a purpose, and there's something that we're supposed to do. All we have to do is get in alignment. And when we get in alignment, then we can be used in order for whatever purpose that God may have for us. So, thinking about the community, what's the opposite when you think about unity? What is the opposite of unity? Disunity. Okay. Disunity And what about division? Is that pretty much the same thing? Okay, so how many people out here have heard of a Willie Lynch letter? Okay, a lot of people have heard of it. But think about that. Is that something that you can physically touch, or is that a spirit? I don't think that anybody is going to be physically here for 300 years. That's the principle that continues to operate, and it still continues to operate today. And that's the reason why we don't work together in a lot of different situations. So for those who do not have that letter, I brought some letters with me. But in essence, it talks about turning the light skins against the dark skins, turning the men against the women, turning the young against the old. And we think about how the breakup of the family has taken some men out of the household. And if you don't have a way of relating back to a boy how he should come up as a man, then there's a disconnect. So one of the things that we focus on in mentoring is working with boys. You know, I've been blessed. My kids have all gone to college. I try to instill in them to use football to pay for their education. They both did. My daughter was able to do it also. So now I'm an elder. So there's something that I can do as far as giving back. And I heard the last lady, Tasha, that talked about passing it on. So we're in connection. I listened to a lot of the other speakers that were here. I heard what Reginald Henderson talked about, being a millennial. I heard what Nita Wiggins talked about in her book, and in France, and the kind of discrimination that she's faced, that we face over here too. I remember going to Catholic schools and being put in reading classes, special reading classes on site. It had nothing to do with what I can do. So we have to understand that the big divide in communities right now is the divide between the youth and the elders. Think about it. We're divided from the youth and the elders. So most churches may have 4 to 5 generations in that same church. That's something that we can learn from.
You gotta have it. You gotta have it. You gotta have it.